Hello and good evening. Here is the news at 6. First, the highlights. Lagos State government moves to boost operations of fire and rescue service. Federal government to intensify domestic resource mobilization strategies towards ownership, sustainability of HIV response. Other foreign in Uganda confirms outbreak of Ebola in capital Kampala. And in sports, former Nigerian international urges Super Eagles coach to focus more on team's 2026 World Cup qualifying match against Rwanda. And now the details. I am Akan Usen. The Lagos State government has announced plans to bolster the operations of the state fire and rescue service through the enforcement of fire safety regulations, investments in modern communication equipment, removal of obstructions, and construction of new fire stations in underserved areas. Commissioner, Ministry of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Relations, Benga Oyerinde, announced this in his keynote address at the 2025 annual staff engagement organized by the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service with the theme Mobilizing Workforce Towards Fire Risk Reduction and Preparedness. Oyerinde, who was represented by a director in the ministry, Olumide Williams, noted that while firefighting is critical, it is the proactive measures of fire safety education and risk reduction that truly saves lives and minimizes damages.
This event serves as a vital platform to assess our progress, address challenges, and chart a strategic path forward as we collectively pursue our mission of safeguarding lives, protecting properties and environment across the state.
In his remarks, the permanent secretary in the ministry, Segun Ogundeko, expressed the state government's appreciation to men and officers of the agency for their efforts in the last year, urging the management to address issues such as misuse of operational tools and indiscipline among personnel while holding the ethics of the civil service.
Our score has remained one of the major challenges that we are facing at the command and control center, and it's also affecting the performance of the fire service. It sometimes leads to unnecessary wastages where vehicles are moved to scene of call and found out to be false. It amounts to waste of money. And our warning is that the law is very clear on this. Whoever is caught will face the wrath of the law. And we want to advise those that are involved in such kind of issues to please desist.
Earlier, the director of Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service, Margaret Adesheye, explained that the engagement was designed to upskill the firefighters' knowledge, skills, and attitudes necessary to identify and mitigate fire hazards, respond effectively during emergencies, and promote a culture of fire risk reduction and preparedness.
All these things are to motivate them. Not only that, we want to be ready for any emergency. We want to review what we have done last year in 2024 and see where we need to do correction and sensitize ourselves and be prepared to reduce the fire risk reduction.
In the highlight of the event, checks of 1.5 and 1 million naira were given to retirees of the agency, decoration of newly promoted officers, and the release of the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service 2024 activity report. Operatives of the Lagos State Traffic Management Authority, LASMA, have apprehended 125 recalcitrant commercial buses and 48 privately owned vehicles for flagrant violations, including unauthorized parking and severe road obstructions. This sweeping crackdown was executed across notorious gridlock-prone corridors such as Idumota, Ijaye Street, Martins, Iriko, Nnamdi Azikiwe by Tom Jones, Ebuteru, Oyigbo, Ijora, Adeniji Adele, and Ido. The enforcement underscores LASTMA's unwavering commitment to eradicating chronic traffic congestion and mitigating reckless road practices, particularly among commercial transport operators and private motorists who flout established regulations. A significant number of the offenders were caught engaging in perilous maneuvers, such as driving against traffic and executing hazardous reversals from Ido to Idumota to pick up passengers, reckless actions that have caused multiple road accidents and loss of lives. The general manager of LASTMA, Olalekan Bakare Oki, while reaffirming that this crackdown represents an ongoing and sustained effort, emphasized its alignment with the overarching vision of the Lagos State government to optimize the efficiency of the metropolis transportation infrastructure. LASTMA assured the public that this operation will be systematically extended to other areas afflicted by unauthorized parking and related infractions. Vice President Kashim Shettima has declared that women will be at the forefront of Africa's projected $29 trillion economic transformation. In a bid to advance gender equality and women's economic empowerment, the Vice President expressed strong conviction that gender inclusion is not merely a rhetorical commitment, but a cornerstone of Nigeria's national development agenda. Shettima stated this when he declared open the 2025 Gender Inclusion Conference and launched Project She Is Included to bridge gender gaps in finance and the broader economy. According to Shettima, Project She Is Included is built on 4 key pillars of education, financial literacy, maternal health care, gender-sensitive policies and programs, and expanded economic opportunities for women. He noted that the initiative will be spearheaded by the Presidential Committee on Economic and Financial Inclusion in partnership with the Ministry of Women Affairs. The federal government has assured that it will swiftly address the lingering ownership dispute and gas supply challenges crippling operations at the aluminium smelter company of Nigeria in Ikotabasi, Akwa Ibom State. Minister of Steel Development Shuaibu Audu gave the assurance during a visit to the idle multi-billion-dollar plant, vowing that the facility will be revived in line with President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda. Despite being shut down for over a decade, Audu expressed satisfaction with the condition of the plant's equipment, describing its revival as critical to the administration's economic goals. He said the current managers of the plant have invested over $400 million in its infrastructure, adding that President Tinubu is committed to expanding Nigeria's economy to $1 trillion by 2030, a goal that requires reactivating key national assets like the Aluminium Smelter Company of Nigeria. Responding, Ascon's managing director, Zavlyalov Dmitry, affirmed that the company is fully prepared to resume production once the legal and infrastructural challenges are addressed. Now to the rest of the stories. The federal government has expressed commitment to intensify domestic resource mobilization strategies towards ownership and sustainability of the HIV response in the country, with a view to reducing the risks of donor aid policy shifts. Director General of the National Agency for Control of AIDS, NACA, Temitope Ilori, assured that efforts are in place to ensure that the country's strategic goals and targets in the fight against HIV are achieved. Ilori said that through effective stakeholder collaboration, creation of favorable policies, and enabling environment and advocacy to policymakers, Nigeria is committed to achieving the goal of ending AIDS by 2030. She said the federal government is not unmindful of the concern and anxiety elicited by reports of the Trump administration's suspension of aid for HIV/AIDS programs and treatments in Nigeria, even as it said it is tackling the challenges of the HIV/AIDS national response. The federal government says it is targeting $23.2 billion investment that will increase energy access from a current 4% to 9% annually. The program, which has been spearheaded by the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, will close energy gap, boost access to clean cooking solutions from 22% to 25% annually, expand renewable energy share in the power generation mix from 22% to 50%, and mobilize $15.5 billion in private investment to drive last-mile electrification. Adelabu said the two-day summit, which brought together African leaders, business executives, and development partners to advance the continent's ambitious energy agenda, was hosted by the government of Tanzania, the African Union, the African Development Bank Group, and the World Bank Group, and aims to accelerate electricity access for 300 million Africans by 2030. He emphasized that protecting power assets is crucial to ensuring uninterrupted electricity supply and sustaining progress, adding that the government is intensifying efforts to curb vandalism through enhanced security, stricter penalties, and improved surveillance technologies. And now to foreign news. Uganda has confirmed an outbreak of Ebola virus disease in the capital, Kampala, with the first confirmed patient dying from the disease on Wednesday. The health ministry said the patient, a nurse at the Mulago Referral Hospital in the capital, had initially sought treatment at various facilities, including Mulago, after developing fever-like symptoms. It noted that the patient experienced multi-organ failure and succumbed to the illness, revealing that the post-mortem samples confirmed that she had the Sudan strain of Ebola virus. Uganda last suffered an outbreak in late 2022, and it was declared over on January 11, 2023, after nearly 4 months of struggling to contain the viral infection. The last outbreak killed 55 of the 143 people infected, and the dead included 6 health workers. In our sports, former Nigerian international Silvanus Okpala has advised the Super Eagles head coach Eric Chelle to focus more on the team's 2026 World Cup qualifying match against Rwanda and not the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. Okpala noted that qualifying for the World Cup should be Chelle's priority at the moment. He said that for Nigeria to emerge champions at the 2025 AFCON, the team must first qualify from Group C, that consists of Tunisia, Tanzania, and Uganda. It should be recalled that the 2026 World Cup qualifiers will resume in March, while the 2025 AFCON will commence in December 21. And that's all for the news at 6. Always obey road signs and traffic lights. You can follow us and like all our various social media platforms on X at Traffic Radio 961, Facebook Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM, Instagram Lagos Traffic Radio 961. On YouTube, subscribe and watch us live on our channel, Traffic Radio 961. You can also visit our website on www.trafficradio961.ng. Did you know that the Sanwo-Olu administration strengthened alliances with 200 representatives from various women-focused NGOs in the state as part of efforts to alleviate the economic plight of women residents in the state? You can get more details on the Lagos State government's website. To end the news, here are the highlights of the major stories. The Lagos State government has announced plans to bolster the operations of the state's fire and rescue service through the enforcement of fire safety regulations, investments in modern communication equipment, removal of obstructions, and the construction of new fire stations in underserved areas. The federal government has expressed commitment to intensify domestic resource mobilization strategies towards ownership and sustainability of the HIV response in the country, with a view to reducing the risks of donor aid policy shifts. We also told you that Uganda has confirmed an outbreak of the Ebola virus disease in the capital, Kampala, with the first confirmed patient dying from the disease on Wednesday. And in sport, former Nigerian international Sylvanus Okpala has advised the Super Eagles head coach Eric Chelle to focus more on the team's 2026 World Cup qualifying match against Rwanda and not the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. For contact with the newsroom, please send a message to info@trafficradio961.ng. And that ends the news broadcast compiled by Zainab Adibeshing. I am Akan Usen. Thanks for listening and please stay safe. Good evening.